What's up, everybody? Welcome to Omnic Lab, episode 133 of the lab. This is New Year, New Goals. That's right. This week, it's just me, your host, Rob May, all the way from Japan, and a nice spicy Monday on my time and Andres' time, all the way in Georgia. We're recording a little late this week. We had some super busyness. Andres is finishing up some really cool projects for his school ending in February. And I am actually getting ready to kick off school this week for my kids in the Japan third trimester before they graduate. So we got some busy seasons ahead of us, but we are back ready to talk about some Overwatch this week. Andres, what are we doing this week?
What's up? What's up? Today we just wanted to do first of the year episode. We wanted to set some goals, both for Overwatch, some personal ones, and also some show goals. Then we also wanted to talk about a little bit of news that's been going on in the community, and to finish it off and not to leave you guys hanging, we do have a little bit of strategy. We'll be talking about the infamous trifecta of doom, the Symmetra Bastion Orisa combo that's been sparking up here and there. That's actually working out pretty good for this meta. So we'll touch on that a little bit, not too much in depth, but we did want to bring in a little bit of strategy. And yeah, we just wanted to make it a laid back episode all about starting out the year.
Yeah, we finished off the year with a bang, so we got to relax a little bit because we had a lot of facts in that last episode with Tasarn. I'm going to have to actually go back on that because one of my goals is improving my off-tank play. So that's definitely something I'm going to be getting into. But let's do a quick recap here on what happened with the game night. We had, as per usual on the holidays, every year around this time, the game night typically is the largest of the year, where we had 3 lobbies running for a long time. And we had one lobby that was pretty much exclusively put up for Masters and GM players so that other people, the pleb lobbies, could actually survive. Okay.
We had the hardcore lobby and then the rest of the lobbies.
Exactly. We banished them this time, so they weren't allowed. It was great.
I don't know if we banished them, more like they congregated. It's like they attract each other.
They just want to go shoot each other for a long time. So yeah. And it wasn't even high class stuff, because I jumped over there to go play with them for a little bit just to see how they were doing. And it was super funny because I jumped in and there's actually there's a silver player and a gold player and a diamond guy, and they're kind of trying to balance around those 3 or 4 people that were low tier, and then the rest are Masters GM. And I jumped in, and when Pear showed up, and we played 6 tanks on Busan just because. And it was the silliest games that I've ever played, and they were a blast. And then we played 6 supports the next game, or 5 supports and a Symmetra, and that was really fun. And then we didn't win any of those games, but those were the best memories of the game night. So if you guys are looking for a good time, strategy or not, that's the place to be. Last Friday of every month, jump in the Discord and hang out. We actually had a good chunk of APAC people too show up, and they said, "Hey, I'm from APAC region." I was like, "Oh, cool." So we had a little empathy session about our ping for a little 5 minutes in between games. There,
I always think it's really, really cool when we get people from completely different regions. For some reason, at some point, a lot of Australians joined our Discord. Guys like Boom.
This last week,
and throughout the whole time. And I always find it cool. It's wow, they're listening to the show all the way in Australia. That's super awesome. By the way, shout out to Mr. Mars for the Twitch Prime hype.
Also, Shazir for the 1,000 bits. Wow, thank you guys so much for all of the love in the chat. I've also heard people saying they have social anxiety. We don't require anything of you guys to do it if you want to come to game night. You can just show up, give people your battle tag. You don't have to talk. If they ask you to do something, you can just type it. It's fine. Don't worry about it. You can just come in and play if you want. We also have a brand new update with Top Score Solutions. So I'll go ahead and read off the new line for you guys. So Buttle, I'm not even gonna go there. That was just a weird
Buckle
buttering up
up.
line for them. Buckle up, boys. Omnic Lab is presented in large part by Top Score Solutions, an esports-oriented community for business, education, and analytics. If you want to develop businesses, services, organizations, or just create some content about gaming or esports in general, they're here to help. Their flagship podcast is an esports business podcast, which you can find on Podbean and iTunes. Yeah, iTunes. Additionally, they run a blog at topscoresolutions.com, and you can find a regular, in case you missed it, brief news update. Be sure to check out their active Discord community. There's a link in our show notes. If you have any questions for follow-up, you want to talk more about esports and gaming, or have just anything you want to talk about there, please go there. Don't forget, all the links are on their website at topscoresolutions.com.
Yeah, they're doing a lot of changes.
And I also linked their Twitter.
Yeah, they're doing a lot of changes over there, and they're some awesome guys. We recently just did a podcast with them. They also have a podcast that you can look up. And we were recently on it. We had a whole conversation about how our podcast got created, how Rob and I kind of met a little bit of history. So if you guys are interested in the back ends of how Omnic Lab got to be, I would definitely recommend to check them out.
Yeah, and I did talk with Ben this week. He said that they're not quite finished with the episode yet, but we'll be the first to let you know as soon as it's out. We'll provide a link next week, and definitely retweet it on Twitter and share it in the Discord. You can also just reach out to Ben in our Discord. He's known by the tag I Need Peeling. If you want to have any questions, you can ask him in our Discord too. Andres, you have an update from Omnic Meta this week.
Yeah, Switch actually came by to Atlanta. He stopped by,
cool.
and I got to hang out with him a little bit. We chat for a while. I don't want to talk too much about it because we talked a lot about his website, and I know he has a lot of plans, but he's also a very busy man. He has a very demanding job and a family, a little kid.
And he's part of the mafia.
Yeah, he does it.
I wasn't supposed to say that.
Yeah, you were not supposed to say that, but he does a lot of things. So he's a busy man, but he does have a lot of plans for Omnic Meta. And over here at Omnic Lab, we are super happy with it, and we want to help him out with anything that he can. It was super nice getting to see him and getting to show him around the city. We ate some ramen. It was pretty cool.
Big shout out to Referee, of course, in the chat. Thanks for the Twitch Prime sub. We're going to keep doing that throughout the show, just to let you guys know. If you want to sub, we will shout it out on the recordings, not just in the live show. We have our Humble Bundle monthly link. If you type !humble in our Discord or in our Twitch chat, you can get a link to go to Humble Bundle and subscribe to their monthly packets. I do not have... Actually, you know what? Let me just jump over there real quick and give you a live update. They have a deal right now for Yakuza 0 and Tom Clancy's The Division. If you guys want to get that, there is a $12 a month subscription thing, and you'll help us out if you click our link.
Yakuza.
All right. Let's actually skip straight to what we're going to talk about this week, which is our goals. We have a big news item this week, and I'm not sure how much time we want to dedicate to it until we've covered our goals first. So let's do that. Okay. So Andres, this is kind of your idea, your baby for this week's episode. So I'll let you kick us off here.
Sure thing. Sorry, we're doing goals first?
Yes.
All right. Yeah, I don't know. I thought it was a cool idea to just do I don't want to do some New Year's resolutions, but just set up a few goals because I've been in that mood since the start of the year, or at least since last year, just setting some clear goals that I can work towards that are not super long term, but it's more in the short term. And I thought we could do that here in the show. With Overwatch, I like doing that too because, like we've said before in the show, Overwatch is one of those games that is so reliant on you improving that I would argue that that is the game, just getting better because, there's no progression in Overwatch. There's no leveling system. The game itself is just getting better at it. So my goals for Overwatch this year is I want to become a more well-rounded player. I think that I've dedicated a lot of time to the DPS role. I feel very confident in it. I can go against some good players and not feel completely left in the dust when I'm playing DPS. But when I'm switching to other roles, I can see a significant decrease. I can no longer maybe hang with some of those better players. And I'm not saying I can beat him, but I can at least, not get rolled. But when I go to other roles, then I can feel like, ooh, I'm struggling here a little bit more. So I want to branch out a little bit. And I think that if I'm able to learn at least one or two heroes that are outside from the DPS role and play them really well, it would even help me in my regular ladder climb. Because if my team is already set on DPS, then I can fill another role and still feel like I'm outputting my best play rather than just some like okay play, not quite there. So I really want to get better at tanks. I want to get better at supports. Zarya is in my list. Diva is in my list. I want to learn Zenyatta, and I want to learn a little bit of Lucio. Those are like the four that I have my eyes set to. And a little bit of Sombra. I've been liking a lot of Sombra. She's a DPS, but not like a different twist, a different flavor. Um, so at least for Overwatch, that's my goal. What about you, Rob?
So before I kick this off, there's something that I helped when I was doing counseling called SMART goals. And this was like a teenagers camp. So this was kind of like giving people easy things to remember. So if you guys are looking to set new goals for New Year, I can give you an effective like setup for this. Just remember SMART, SMART, SMART. SMART goals. First is S, specific. You have to make your goals more and more and more specific. Narrow it down. I want to get better at Overwatch. No. I want to get better at DPS in Overwatch. No. I want to get better at DPS on Hanzo. Not even that. I want to get better at Hanzo on using my storm arrows. Okay, that's a specific goal, right? So you narrow it down to be specific. I want to be measurable. I want to have something that I have statistics to back me up, or I have ranks that I can reflect that. I have, I have my eliminations with storm arrows are increasing, or my survivability by virtue of my storm arrow use is increasing, et cetera, okay? Measurable. That's SM and A. They say it's agreed upon, but we changed it at camp. We called it attainable. It means that it's something that you actually can do, and you can do it within a year's time. And it's kind of interesting because they use the term agreed upon, whereas I feel like this one is enforcing the idea of redundancy with saying it's attainable and it's realistic. Because sometimes you can say something is attainable and say, oh yeah, I could do that. But then like putting the tag of realistic on the other side, I feel like that's kind of encapsulating more than it is like saying two different synonyms in the English language. Making something attainable means it's reasonable, but making it realistic for you is a different conversation. So that's A and R. And then T is time-based, putting a time frame for it. That'll make it even more specific. So you could say this year, but that's not hitting your first measure point of specific. So here's my goals. That being said, some of these are going to be general anyways, just to give you an idea, because I haven't quite thought these through. So one of them is the first one is definitely I want to improve tank play. And specifically, if I want to narrow this down with you guys, I feel like my off-tank play is the most severely lacking, and I think that Zarya is my target. I think Zarya and Diva are my two targets of play. I feel like Diva is by far and away my best of any of the tanks, but Winston is probably number 2, and I still feed like crazy when I'm playing them in Diamond because I haven't gotten the experience of playing them at this rank yet. I've only played them like high plat, I think at best, and even then, it's like it doesn't mean that I've played them in that rank correctly. So, I want to practice them and when I can, because Yankee told me off the other day. I was like, yeah, I could play this, but it'd be feeding. He's like, well, how are you gonna get better? I was like, well, okay. Pull the dagger out of my heart, and then we can talk. Okay.
Fair enough.
Yeah. So, the next thing is that I want to improve my support play by being specifically aware of my surroundings to increase survivability. So I have a super specific goal within my support play because that's something that I can work on any of them. Lucio play. I play way too aggressive on my Zen play. I peek too much against snipers. I also don't play properly with regards to using volley when I'm in melee range with targets. I'm not doing precision shots. I'm getting lazy aim. Mm-hmm. And then specifically with Ana, I want to nail better and I want to nail more sleep darts. This is one of the biggest things of the kit, and I'm not utilizing that to the potential that I could.
Yeah, working on those darts.
Yep. And then in DPS, I want to focus my pool down on Hanzo, Ashe, and Sombra. And again, I narrowed it down to 3, but I also want to make sure that they're adjustable. I wanted to have more than 1 or 2. and I didn't want them all to be hit scan and all to be projectile because of how quickly the meta shifts. I don't want to be useless if, Hanzo becomes just useless. But yep. And then the last one is just a general thing of just trying to complain less and think of more active solutions more. Because I get super tilted when I just get farmed, but it's like that's what if you main support, you do get farmed. Like you are the primary target of every fight.
Yeah, if you're
not out of position.
And that's a good goal. Just in general, try not to
looking
blame
for active solutions.
Yeah, exactly. Instead of trying to blame the stuff that is happening on something, whether it be or the team coordination or the composition or the heroes that the enemy's playing, instead of just looking for active solutions. That's the key. At all points in the match, things are not working out. What can you improve? Can you do your approach a little bit different? Do you actually have to switch into a hero that maybe you can handle it a little bit better with? Or is it a lack of communication? Maybe you're not letting your teammates know about this, or maybe you might be messing up some of your abilities yourself, like you said with Anna. Some clutch sleep darts that you should be landing, maybe you're missing them, and that can be making you frustrated. But at the end of the day, it's just in your hands, right? Like you're the one who has to take the action.
I'm the one that's in the cockpit of the controls, so I need to be able to one that does them. Mm-hmm. And I wanted to be sure that if the goal shifts within tank play to just playing Reinhardt or playing Winston instead of D.Va Zarya, I'm also fine with that. I still haven't quite narrowed down who I want to focus on just yet, but I feel like it's going to be pretty indicative next stage meta, or when metas kind of shift around, and that's going to be where I can improve my tank play. So, and also I got to find the right group that's okay with me doing that. So
yeah, absolutely.
That's the tough part.
I think you get a group of friends that you can just tell them like, hey guys, I want to work on my Zarya, and that they know like you're gonna suck a little bit, but they're all your friends, so they're there to just have fun and learn. That usually works. And honestly, this is not a bad meta to learn tanks, with goats being around and being a thing. We were actually playing goats with the team the other day. We just got a 6-stack going, and we were just playing only goats in some scrims. And it's an interesting game. It's definitely so much different than playing any other composition. Like once you're trying to like actually play goats seriously, and the other team is also playing goats, and you're having like that mirror match, it's a different Overwatch experience. I was trying out really Zarya, and Jesus, you feel like Super Saiyan God with Zarya in goats composition, because you're like fully charged the whole time, and you're like in the front line with a million heals in your back and so many like defensive cooldowns. It's just like it's a different game for sure.
Yep. I definitely had some enjoyment watching a full 22 minute game on Blizzard World where Barcode didn't die on offense. It was like just playing Zarya and goats on that, and like listening to callouts and like how Lucios are playing with their Zaryas, and how they're making specific decisions with their composition, or when they're making, hey, I'm going in, I need the shield, or like you're literally like communicating with the team, even in just like solo queue at the top ranks of, I'm going to need the bubble for this, or I have bubble now, or I have bubble in a second, don't do it. Like literally informing every decision that the entire roster does in movement based off of the cooldowns of Zarya's bubbles. It's pretty impressive.
You have to work so much around the cooldowns in that composition. And if you're not calling them out like that, and the other team is, you will get destroyed. And we learned that the hard way.
Because it's the same thing. Like even if it's mirror match, or if it's not, if the enemy team or your team are running Zarya, the entire game is dictated about how both Zaryas are utilizing the bubble.
Mm-hmm.
Like, at least at the better tiers of play, wherever you label that as, if players are playing Zarya properly, this is when this exists, is when people are playing the game based off of the enemy team's Zarya bubble or your bubble. It's like, if she doesn't have bubble, you're going in. Like, you are going so deep to kill her. Or you're going to, if you have bubble, you're going to play super aggressive. So it's one of those weird abilities where if a Zarya is playing a particular way, at lower ranks, I feel like it's way more predictable because they use them less, and they use them less. I guess not less, but maybe they utilize them in improper ways more often. I think that's probably the better way to say. So it's easier to punish.
Well, I feel like when you're not as experienced with it, you just misread certain situations, and you might just use
That's
it
true.
a little bit more randomly, or just like throw it out there because you want to gain some energy. But like you said, the Zarya bubble is almost like the rhythm of your Reinhardt. That's what allows him to get aggressive, and like a good Reinhardt will play around your bubble cooldown, because
Mm-hmm.
Reinhardt ends up being like weirdly the main target in like the goats versus goats, and everyone's trying to
Yep.
just throw everything at him. The second he drops his shield, Anna's trying to throw a grenade at him. Or his shield breaks, everything is just getting fired at him. If he wants to swing, everyone's gonna focus him, so he gets gonna take so much damage. But that's the power of the bubble. It allows him to like do all of that, get aggressive. If a nade gets thrown on him, you can basically nullify it and cancel it, and he can get healed
Mm-hmm.
again. So it enables
Yeah.
Ryan basically.
Yeah, and the other thing that you can kind of enter into this formula as kind of an X factor is when you start introducing snipers, including, and I include Ashe into this, even though she's technically not a sniper, more or less. She's kind of in that weird hot spot middle ground, and they kind of also label Hanzo as a sniper, even though he has just super high damage and no scope. So it's like what we're really talking is Ashe, Widow, and Hanzo here, because if they get a kill and the enemy team isn't running a Mercy composition version of their setup with Zarya, Ryan, Lucio, if those three aren't pivotal in there and with a Mercy, then the whole composition shifts, because if somebody gets a pick on the Hanzo, Mercy, or Ashe in that setup, as soon as there's a pick, you automatically have man advantage and they have nothing. Like, even if you don't have the bubbles, they've got to push through so much of you in these big bodies without any damage. That's the big key, is if you're removing a damage or removing a healing source, because snipers aren't going to be getting picks on tanks unless, again, the bubbles and the barriers are down,
Mm-hmm.
or you're purposely farming the Rhyme barriers so they can't move. So these are like all the scenarios that you have to be thinking of. And if you're looking to improve in other heroes and you have a Zarya and Reinhardt in your team, you can say, okay, this season or even this year, I'm going to focus on how I play in Overwatch by watching and communicating with my tanks. And I'm only going to make my decisions based off of my tanks and my enemy tanks' positions and decisions. Then you're going to be so much better at Overwatch, especially if you're at the lowest ranks. If you're just watching your tanks like and the enemy tanks in tandem, you're going to find your awareness shoot through the roof. Because if they're not doing something and you're not doing something, then you're safer across the board, because you're supposed to be in the same realm of existence, more or
Yeah.
less, right?
Hopefully your tanks will communicate back. But no, just honestly,
Yeah.
just being aware of them might
Yeah.
increase your personal level of play, because tanks do kind of dictate the pace of battle. So gives you a good point of reference. We started with
Right.
goals, and now we're like full strategy mode. Sorry, guys, we just
I
can't
mean,
get away
welcome
from
to the show,
strategy.
right? All right, Andres, what's next on the docket here? Let's get a little bit away from Overwatch for a bit.
Yeah. Really quickly, we just wanted to set some personal goals for this year. I'll throw out mine real quick, and then I'll let you get to yours. Next month, I'm finishing school. I'm in the last leg of it. I'm turning in all of my projects and trying to build a little portfolio of data analysis, a little bit of programming and web development. Not anything too complicated, but this is the background I've been kind of trying to develop for the past 7 months. So I'm very excited to be finishing that and, seeing where that takes me this year. I'm definitely going to be looking for opportunities in that realm, and hopefully bringing some of those skills back to the podcast too. I've learned quite a bit, and I don't want to promise anything yet, but I definitely
Yeah.
do wanna help build some cool stuff with my newly acquired knowledge, and hopefully some knowledge that I can keep building throughout this year and throughout the rest of my life. Is such a deep field. But yeah, that's one of my goals. I want to keep learning about web applications, data analysis, and build some cool stuff.
Awesome. For me, it's kind of interesting, but I'll give you some specific stuff that I know some of the people in the community will be happy to help me with, which is just to dial back an overall busy lifestyle. I've said yes to a lot of things this last 2 years since moving to Japan, and I feel like ever since my first like 6 months here, I've kind of started having to say no to a lot of things. And it's been really hard to say no because everything's so new, and you feel like you can take it all on, but it's not really been as healthy for me and family and like early marriage life as well. So I've been trying to I want to dial that back a little bit more. And then I also want to make sure that I can actually study Japanese more as a result. So I want to study it like 5 hours a week minimum. That translates to an hour a day, 5 days a week. But this is not me lowballing goals. This is saying if at the worst of my weeks this year, I want it to be this, and at the best of my weeks, I want it to be more. So ideally, I want to be doing it every day, and ideally, I want to be doing it more on certain days, especially if I'm at school and it's like dead. I definitely want to be studying like almost all day. So just keep that in mind. I'll be moving this August, the very beginning of August this current year. So I'll be teaching at my current school for only basically like a semester or 2 semesters left, end of this year and then the next year, because they're working on trimesters, so they start in the summer. Or sorry, yeah, they start in the summer. So at the end of the summer, I'll be done, and then I wanna focus more on mental health. I know that this week in particular, I've noticed a lot of things like just within the news cycle of like Overwatch and studying more about Overwatch League and coaching that I watched a podcast by Joe Rogan that's really, really good about sleep, and I highly recommend it.
I actually really like
Some
that podcast. Yeah, you sent it to
fascinating
me.
podcast.
Yeah, very cool.
So I highly recommend that if you can find it. It's I can send it to you if you forget. If you're like, hey Rob, do you have that link? Yeah, I'll be happy to look it up for you and send it to you. But just search Joe Rogan on podcast on sleep. It's just fascinating and really informative, like just overall efficiency and getting more sleep this year is going to be big. And I think that a lot of getting good sleep is one of those things where it works in tandem with mental health and also helps you conquer it if that's one of the main things you struggle with
Yeah.
in life.
And not only that, like the way that they describe it in the podcast as sleep not being um optional, but more of like if you want your body to work right, you have to, and you have to do it right, or
Yeah,
else you
it's
don't
not
get the
like
full benefit.
you have this magic gene where it's like I don't understand why this isn't working right. It's like, well, your body doesn't understand that it's even sleep deprived and it won't even tell you.
Hmm.
It's an expectation that your body has,
That's the
and it
one thing
doesn't
that
do a
got
very good
me
job of
when he was
communicating
like,
it.
You can never tell when you're sleep deprived as a human being because there's like different degrees of it, but some of your functionality does decrease when you're sleep deprived, and it's
Mm-hmm.
impossible to tell if you are, even if you think you've had like a full night's sleep or something. I don't know. It's
Which
very
is really
interesting. Yeah, you
interesting.
should guess you listen to it.
Yeah, it's not like Anders and I are qualified to do this, but this is a scientific neurosurgeon who studied sleep patterns and dream patterns and health. So definitely go check that out. And the last is I want to encourage more people this year to enjoy watching and playing Dungeons and Dragons, just in general, or systems like that in the tabletop scene. I feel like it's just a great renaissance of D&D this last couple years, and I want to keep pushing it. I feel like Dungeons and Dragons is just a great outlet for you to get out, to do something where you're not like um, basically it's a system that rewards good decision making, with cool stories, funny stories, exciting moments, and just great times with your friends, regardless of RNG on your dice rolls. If you're rolling nothing or you're rolling something super high, you have these really, really exciting moments that always ensue because of certain rolls. And I thought that was really cool because it's kind of like one of the cool things that I've always loved about randomness in games, and I feel like Dungeons and Dragons with dice in particular makes that just really, really fun. So definitely try to find more people in your communities and do that if possible.
You know, my friends have been wanting to try it, and I've been wanting to try it because I've never really actually played a good session like with the dungeon master and like doing it the right way. I think it would be pretty cool to try it out. I don't know, maybe this year will be the year. I just need a
Yeah,
dungeon
it's
master
one of those
friend.
things
Where
where
I need somebody who like already knows how to do this to just hit me up and be like, Andres, I got you, man.
The best way to do it is have a dungeon master or somebody that's willing to try it. And just have, like, I've heard of groups where they're like, I just want to play. And if you get enough people that say they just want to play, and you tell everyone, okay, for the next, 6 weeks, we got 6 people. Every week, someone is going to run a one-time session, and they're going to be the dungeon master. You just rotate, and then you see who enjoyed it the most, and then you go from there. That's something you can do, because it's one of those things where it's super intimidating. But if everyone's happy and everyone's having fun, and that dungeon master is like doing their best, then it's hard not to be happy. There's certain expectations you can put on them that can make it dangerous. But if you go into something with no holds barred, no expectations, you pick up a player's handbook for everyone and a set of dice, you're good to go. So you can and there's so many things in Dungeons and Dragons where if you don't want to prepare, you don't have to. You can literally run everything by the book. They have complete guides of just like buying an adventure and running through the whole adventure. They have everything planned for you. You don't have to do any writing, no creativity whatsoever. If nobody's played through the content before, then hey, everyone's fresh. So
that's true.
It's a lot of fun. All right, so we have some podcast goals for you guys. So we're getting back to Overwatch, but a little bit more with us specifically. So Andres, what is something that we've been really working on even before 2019 that we want to kick off this year?
This one we'd actually been working for a little bit, but we're changing publishers. I think we've mentioned this before in the show, but hopefully this will get us access to new platforms like Spotify and help us give us a little bit more tools to keep growing the podcast, have a little bit more control over numbers and analytics. See who's listening out there, see where should be reaching out, and cool things with the podcast. So hopefully we can get that rolling. It's been a little bit of a process just because when we started the podcast, we were using different services, and then we changed a little bit, and now we're changing again. So gathering all that data and making sure that everything's matching so we don't end up causing some crazy stuff in our feed and deleting episodes or losing some of them. We've been pretty careful with that. So we're close to the finish line with that. Thank you for the guys.
We've caused ourselves an unreal amount of extra work because of being paranoid that we're going to lose things for far too long instead of just pulling the trigger. So it's one of those type of things.
Yeah, but we're there. We're there. Thank you to the guys at Libsyn for all the help. They've been super awesome so far. We are super happy with their service. So yeah, that is to come. Stay tuned. Omnic Lab on Spotify.
So there's another thing that I wanted to update here for those of you on Patreon supporting us and those who are considering supporting us on Patreon. We are desperately looking for more feedback. I always ask this like every year and even just infrequently throughout the year at random times, and we get like rarely anyone sending us anything about what they want more from Patreon or what they're looking for. We've seen a little bit of a dip in popularity with the game overall, as well as just like content in general of Overwatch when Overwatch League is not in cycle. And when we're not producing things that have to do with Overwatch League, people are not finding us in that light because that's not what they're looking for. So because of this, we've taken a little bit of a hit with our Patreon funding, and we want to make sure that it's because of the game and it's not because of us, because it's always one of those things where it's really hard for us to gauge that. But we're kind of making that interpretation. And if our stuff is accurate, we still want to update Patreon. We want to make it better. We want to provide you guys more with accurate things. We've upgraded a lot of things. We've gone to BlizzCon twice now. We want to make sure, okay, what is something reasonable that we can use the money for? What is this money going to? How are we utilizing it the best we can? We want to make sure people can understand that we still have goals that are ticking up and down as the Patreon money fluctuates that we have personally. And we'll be talking that more with our Patrons. If you're on Patreon, please be checking your email. We'll probably be sending you some more like questionnaires or maybe just some like what do they call Google Forms, just like little stuff for you guys to fill out, like 5 questions, like what do you guys think? If you have some time, fill it out, please. Last up here, we wanted to do some more duo type shows like we're doing today. We're going to do stuff like this where we talk about strategy. We talked about the ultimate economy together without a pro. And I feel like Andres and I are pretty well equipped to talk about certain topics without having guests. And we want to make the show about not just about us, but about the topics. And we love having guests on, but we also understand it's really difficult for them and for us to do it on a reasonable timetable. So we want to make it so that it's somewhat consistent for us to have kind of an on-off cycle rather than just like randomly having a guest after guest after guest and then kind of like going off the grid with nothing, but news for a week after week after week. Want to kind of do something a little bit more like that. And then the last thing I had in here, this is something that Andres and I had been talking about throughout last year, and we kind of did some test cases, is just including esports in the game, into the podcast. We want to talk about esports sometimes. We want to use footage of esports to execute some opinions. We want to talk about specific games that are just like really, really good with regards to casting or with regards to coaching. And we're hoping that this particular year of Overwatch, and this will hopefully lead into kind of our predictions for the year of what the game is going to be providing, and what our wish list is for the game, of just things that we think Overwatch is going to be giving us tool-wise with regards to esports and in the client, to do these sort of things where we can like just rip esports footage and then go into the game and spectate.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm super glad we kind of got this out there. We love setting up the stage for the years to come. We think a lot about the show. We're always thinking about ways of improving it, improving ourselves as hosts. We want to put out great content out there. We want to make content that is compelling, content that when you come to listen to the show, you can go back out there and be like, I learned something new. I feel a little bit better at Overwatch. We're still very passionate about the game. I still have a blast playing the game, and I keep finding new stuff to learn, even after playing it for almost, 3 years straight, 2 years? I don't even know how long it's been out by now.
Depends on if we're including beta or not.
Yeah, if we're including beta, it's close to 3 years by this point. So obviously, I've had my up and downs with it, but I'm still going strong with Overwatch, and I can't wait to see what 2019 has to offer. I know that the team has been working a lot of secretive stuff. They've been a little quiet about what's going on over there, but hopefully some new features, some new additions to the game, and it seems like they're working on something big. So I don't know. I'm excited. I'm curious, and I can't wait to see what in store for us in 2019.
So with that being said, Jeffrey Kaplan, someone you may know and love that wrestles for death. He is known for posting on the forum sometimes, and he posted 2 days ago saying that we worked on a balance patch this week, and we're hoping that the patch will be on PTR next week. So this is the second week of January, he said, is going to be looking to have a patch. And he says, the last time I said this, it was late and everyone flipped out. So please don't flip out if things slipped like they often do. There's another cool little surprise coming next week. Excited. Sorry, no details this time, as the changes are still in flux, and the PTR will get the patch notes when it goes out. So no dev update yet. So some cool stuff. I love it when Jeff does this. Even if it's an announcement of an announcement, I'm okay with this. I've come to love Blizzard games long enough to know an announcement of an announcement and why it exists. It helps public relations, right? It helps me know that they understand, hey, you guys want something, we're going to give it, but we can't give it just yet. Just wait a couple more days. It's like Christmas isn't here yet. You have to wait.
It's like when you're a kid and you're in the car and you keep asking your dad, like, "Are we there here?
Are we there yet?"
And they're like, "No, not yet, but we'll be there." But you
That's
just
like
have to keep asking. It kind of like makes you feel a little bit better. You know that the answer is not gonna change, but like just the fact that they acknowledge you makes you feel a little bit better.
Yep. So, what do we think we're going to be getting? So we've heard like so many projection stuff going on. We've heard some things that we've gotten demo wise, like the Overwatch World Cup in client, viewership test. We thought that was really cool. We thought that the last year when they integrated skin like variations of the Overwatch League skins for spectator mode, that was pretty cool for orienting like some team sports, right?
That was cool. Although I'll tell you what I think they're working on and what I'm excited about, or I'm hoping that they're working on. One,
all right, kick us off with some juicy stuff here.
One, I think that they're working on guilds. They announced that a while ago. They said there was a feature that they wanted to put in which I think would be cool, like a guild system where maybe you could challenge other guilds. So there's some sort of, I don't know if either like ranking or at least some sort of like point system. I think it would be really cool if you could scrim in between guilds. So you could have like the Omnic Lab guild challenging like the High Noon guild or something like that. And you can have like some sort of point system, more like kind of like individual clubs. So the population can almost have that feeling of belonging to a team, right? Like kind of like Overwatch League or Contenders. Maybe with your guild, you can create like your own custom team skin or something. I don't know if that would be almost too much, but I think it would be really cool to at least have the option of grouping up in the game like that and being able to challenge other groups for a certain outcome, maybe a pride trophy or something. I don't know. I think that would be pretty cool. What do you think?
I think that's something that's feasible with things like Team League existing in League of Legends and Dota and MOBA titles, where people are saying, "Hey, I want to form a team and I want to play online. Can you guys make us a feature where we can play that? That would be cool." Where the LFG system kind of just develops into not playing solo queue, but saying, "Hey, this is a ladder, and this is for solo players, or this is for duo players, or you can cap it somewhere." And then saying, okay, so here's our solo duo queue, and then we have team queue.
Guild queue.
Yeah, and I understand like the whole thing about like, oh man, I can only ever get like 4 or 5 of us on in the group. But like making a guild or making a team or a roster with a certain amount of sub slots that you can have in there is really cool because you can be a part of multiple teams and play in ranked ladder, or setting up some form of in-client brackets. I would love that. I think that I would even go another step further for helping tournament organizers in client. That would be really cool. So we're not using cruddy stuff like Battlefy or whatever. I'm doing some really interesting stuff that way. I would love to see more improvements to data analytics. Despite
you're speaking my language
a lot of
right
things
now.
with some APIs. I know that you and Switch have told me numerous occasions of things that are big issues with that. And I think that regardless of what goes on for everything in the game, that game previews is the utmost of important for everything, or game reviews or VOD reviews or game recordings that are in client. That is the number one thing that I want from Overwatch this year.
Yeah, well, we know it's coming. The Overwatch League tournament viewer, that was like a sneak peek, and we know it's a feature they're working on.
As close as we got,
and
so
it's
far.
it's looking good. It's looking good. Like I actually really enjoyed being able to watch the World Cup viewer. It was definitely not perfect, and it was lacking some features. But for the most part, everything that you wanted in a replay system was there. So that part is looking good, and we know that that will definitely be hitting this year. I would like that system expanded a little bit. I know that you can already do slow mo. It would be cool to be able to export just like certain sections of the replay so that you could maybe put it as clips, or I mean, I guess you can do that with OBS and stuff, but it would be cool to have it integrated into the game.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you were talking about data analytics, but I remember having Scott Mercer in the podcast a long time ago, and he mentioned this himself. He wanted a better system in game to be able to track your matches. And we were actually talking about this with Switch this week when he came over. But a match history, being able to go to each individual match and extract the data over time, right? Not just like the amount of kills, the amount of damage that you did, but I'm talking about like when you did the damage, to who you did the damage, when did you kill, and who did you kill? Kind of like almost like a timeline of your match in data form that you could look at. I think that would be super cool. And Scott Mercer alluded to that. He said that he thought that would be a super cool tool that he thought would be really cool to add to the game. So I'm crossing my fingers that somehow we can get kind of like a data match history not just a replay. The replay is awesome, but maybe integrated with the replay system that you could like download a almost like a combat log of the match that is telling you like
Right.
when the deaths happen. I don't know if damage would be a little bit too hard to do just because
You're right.
damage is happening all the time everywhere.
It's it's one of those things where I feel like we always end up talking about it, or rather it divulging into an argument at some point with people talking statistics in Overwatch. It's because there's so many unreliable ones that people need to understand that volume doesn't necessarily represent what's happening in like the timeline. That's why combat logs are so much more valuable in games like World of Warcraft when you're looking at, okay, here's my burst window. How much damage am I doing within this space of time? How much is my kill potential if I get a stun? How much kill potential do we have if I use this specific combo? Okay, great. So let's try the combo a different way. And how does my damage stack up in this time frame if I'm mirroring identical results? You know, the RNG of crits, you know, stuff like that. In Overwatch, the great part about Overwatch is there's no RNG with regards to crits outside of shotgun heroes and tracking and human error. Like that's basically the only RNG that exists in the game. And they've done things like limiting spread patterns to make that more reliable. And you can make it more reliable by changing your distance. But those type of things are not going to be represented in data. Data is going to tell you what the end result is. And that's all we have in Overwatch right now.
Yeah, just to give you an idea, let's say, for example, a Hanzo player, he gets an average of 10,000 damage a match, right? But there's no way to tell how he is getting that 10,000 damage. Because here's two examples. One Hanzo is incredibly good at aiming, and he's getting arrows left and right. He's just nailing them all the time. He's getting headshots. He's using his storm arrow to his full potential. And he has good positioning, so he's always finding angles and consistently shooting at the team, building a good amount of damage to help him reach that 10,000 or 10,000 damage on average. Second Hanzo, not as good of a shot. He doesn't position himself as well, so he's not getting as many arrows or storm arrows in. His damage is a little bit more inconsistent, and the overall damage of him is a little lower, but he has great game sense with his dragon with his ultimate. It just happens that every time he throws his ultimate, he's able to catch like a couple tanks and maybe some other squishies. And even if he doesn't secure kills, but maybe he is, he's dealing a lot of damage with that Hanzo dragon that makes up for his damage statistic, giving you, 10,000 damage at the very end. Or we were having this conversation with Ash with Switch as well. It's hard to tell how much damage is coming from her just shooting and how much damage is coming from her using her dynamite.
And Bob.
Are good Ashes really exploiting the dynamite, or they're exploiting their shooting? Are they exploiting both? It's kind of hard to tell. And being able to have a match history that tells you when the damage was being done, how much quantity at that moment was being done.
If you're playing with the damage boosted Mercy, if you're hitting shots on Zenyatta orbs,
it would give you a better idea of your performance and the performance of other teammates. So I think it'd be awesome to have those data.
Like, think about how useful kill feed is, and that's what we're kind of looking for. Is like statistical representation for the kill feed is kind of the idea. That's a combat log, more or less. Alrighty. Let's keep moving here. What other things did we write down for the show? Oh yeah, we have to go back to news here.
We have a couple other news, but honestly, we're kind of running a little bit short on time, and I did wanted to touch the strategy section a little bit. There was some controversy this week with the whole Ellie situation. We're not gonna go like super in depth into it. It was a no-win situation for anybody here. Everybody lost with this. But for those of you who are unaware, there was a player named Ellie that appeared almost out of nowhere. She kind of took the ladder. She took kind of by surprise. She climbed out very quick. She made a name for herself, and very quickly a contenders team signed her on. which raised a lot of eyebrows from a lot
Or
of
at
the
least publicly
community.
displayed their interest in doing so.
Yeah, display the interest in doing so. Raised a lot of eyebrows. A lot of people, wanted to know like who is this Ellie person. At least in a game like Overwatch, it's really hard to get to the top of the ladder. Like we're talking top 500, and not even that, like top like 10, right? Out of nowhere, like people at that high don't just appear out of nowhere unless you've been there for a while, if you reached it before. So a lot of people were questioning the person, and I think the team didn't do their due diligence. They were very excited to sign a very prominent girl to the team, and then it sort of comes out she says that she's getting harassed or something. She retires from the team. She says she's not gonna be a part of it anymore. And shortly afterwards, it comes to light that Ellie is not Ellie, but in fact, this other player, a male player named Punisher, which is a known like top 500 Doomfist player. Just an overall really messy situation, which he looks bad. The girl that was pretending to be Ellie looks bad. The
The
contenders
org looks
team
bad.
looks bad, and then the reaction from the community was also terrible. It brought out the best out, or the worst out of
Out of
everyone there.
everything.
Yeah, so an overall
There's a lot
loss
of
for
coverage.
everyone.
Yeah, there's a lot of coverage in our show notes here if you want to check out. I've linked a Your Overwatch main video, Second Wind's Twit Longer, which is the organization, and their official PR statement on it, Slasher's Twitter coverage. There's a Reddit thread coverage that has like a timeline for this. If you guys are interested in other people's different points as to why things are happening, they're kind of giving you a timeline. Aspen from Cloud9 had mentioned that she said something on a Twitter highlight. Jane from the Dallas Fuel posted something on his Twitch highlight explaining the why as to what he thinks was going on here. And it's basically just a big nightmare for public relations, for esports communities, for, even though I hate using the term community so much because it's such a buzzword these days, basically the large group of esports, and then the smaller group that is Overwatch, that gets the label here of toxicity. I feel like toxicity within gaming is the big issue. Regardless if people are putting the label on Overwatch in particular, it's less about that. I feel like it's just people in gaming. It's just like a subculture that we have not gotten out of. And throughout the whole situation of people being skeptical, you have legitimate skepticism, and then you have the whole grouping of people that are like doxing, like basically trying to dox this person's house to prove that it's not, or she's not real, or that she can't be good at gaming or something like that, because they hate girls being good at video games for whatever reason. It's like a
Some
novel
people were
concept
taking
for them.
it very, very far. Yeah,
So
it was just a terrible situation because it highlighted some of the issues that the community still has. And I don't think it's just like the gaming community as a whole. It's just, society, in general.
yeah, that's true. But it's
So
just
I don't
like a
know.
long-standing issue within gaming in particular, and people are just like, well, this is exactly why women in esports are having such a hard time, and why they don't want to come out of the closet, or as being like a girl playing. They don't want to come out as transgender. There's all kinds of things like this that are coming out, and so we wanted to use this news story to say that we're not ignorant to it. I feel like it's kind of an expectation for a lot of big creators to say something about this. The fact of the matter is, it's here. I don't know what you guys are looking from Andres and I, besides that.
I don't think
I mean,
anyone's
you
looking
just
at
look at
anything
our
out of us.
archive. Yeah, I mean, look at our archive. We're trying to get anyone that's good at Overwatch is what we look at. I mean, we don't care who you are. If you're good at the game and you're good at a particular hero, you're good at explaining and teaching. I mean, we've showcased a lot of people that are even just like good players, and not like the best players, but good players that can explain themselves well. Those are the people we're looking for.
Hmm.
And
Yeah,
you
our
don't get good
community.
teachers unless they're good teachers first and then good players second. You know what I mean? Like, that's what we're really looking for.
I think our community has always been pretty diverse and pretty inclusive, and I think one of the reasons why is because we've never focus on that. Whether you're a guy, girl, whether you're from this country or that country, it doesn't matter at the end. Do you like Overwatch? Do you want to hang out? Do you want to be friends? Okay, let's go. Let's have some fun. And I think that, I don't know, it's a hopeful thing to say, but I wish people wouldn't focus on hard on those details that don't really matter at the end, because at the end we're all here to have fun, enjoy yourselves, and whether you're a guy, whether you're a girl, it doesn't really matter, you know. We're all in the
We're
same.
A podcast
we're
for
all in the
everyone
same hush
that likes Overwatch. We have one limitation, and that's already enough. And you have to play this game, okay? Like, there's not enough. It's too much to put more things on top of that.
Don't give us more things.
It's already hard enough. Oh goodness. Okay. Well, I think that's gonna probably end up just being it for the show. If you guys have questions about anything, you want to talk to us more about our goals, you want to razz me about being horrible at Japanese, please let us know. Drop some caparosas in our Discord, whatever you like to do on your free time. Please let us know. Come talk to us. We're gonna look to engage more people in our Discord as well this year. We have an iTunes review, so we have to announce that because this guy's name is, or girl's name is the funniest thing I've read in a while. It's just called Browser Review from USA. So somebody getting in deep that they're very crystal clear that they didn't want to use iTunes to give this a review. But they're from the USA and said on December 27th, they've been listening to the podcast for over a year. One of their favorite Overwatch podcasts. We have great discussion about the game, strategies, heroes, relevant to the current meta. Even if I'm running behind, I'll go back and listen to missed episodes and past episodes because it's an enjoyable and informative podcast for all Overwatch players. Thank you so much for your kind words. Your kind words. Thank you so much for that. If you guys can leave us an iTunes review, it helps us a lot. It just gives us a little bit more feedback that we're doing good things, and if we're not doing good things, leaving us like a medium review or a 4-star review or a 2-star review and letting us know what some things are that we can work on, that always helps as well. Also, Patreon is a unbelievable help to us over the course of the year. I'm still I even just worked on some financing today to pay off BlizzCon. I know that this is not something that's normal for everyone to be spending this much money on BlizzCon, but when you live international, hey, you got to do what you got to do. So Patreon is the only way that I make BlizzCon the last 2 years. And I still don't know if I'm going to be making it next year. There may just be, even if we get enough money on Patreon, if I just shouldn't go just by virtue of moving around that time. So we're looking at some different options for BlizzCon in the future, but special thanks to our diamond sponsors who are up there and still supporting us. We have got Totscar Solutions, Silver Loki, Solo PS4, Jan Jinkle, Durandal, Roger B, Britmus, Shazir, Christoplaya, Tragic Zach, Lissum, and Matthew Z. Thank you guys so much for your support. If you want to support us, omniclab.com /links will let you find anything else that you're looking for, as well as patreon.com/omniclab. If you want to find the show, Twitter, website, that's the way to go. And you'll get all the links there. Andres, where can people find you?
I was gonna say too, we actually got a new Patreon during the show. His name is Connell.
Hype.
Thank you so much, Connell. I think it's in the chat
sweet.
too. Yeah.
Awesome.
Thanks for the support.
Well, thank you, Connell.
And if you want to find me, you can find me on Twitter at iPlayGames. You spell that IPLAI Games.
Awesome. If you want to find me, I'm on Twitter at the tag NotRob, and also on Instagram at the same tag. If you want to hear me on Hearthstone stuff, you can hear me on Velen's Chosen Podcast. And I'm thinking about cooking up a concept craft this month with my wife. So we're going to be recording something. She's feeling a little under the weather. We were going to plan on doing it this week, but maybe next week. So when she's feeling better. And remember, guys, don't be a lab rat. Be a scientist. Set some cool goals and let us know what your goals are in Twitter or in our Discord. We're curious to know what you guys are working on. See you guys next week.
Yeah, post it on Twitter. We should make that the conversation of the week for this week. Let us know what your goals are.
We're going to call it Lab Rat Goals.
Lab
#LabRat Goals.
All right, guys.
We'll search Lab Rat Goals. We'll just make it a thing.
Thanks to everyone in the chat. We had a very active chat today. Riffire, New Blood with the dank memes. Shaz, that's awesome that you met your wife as she was a head tech. Your wife is a badass, by the way. We got to meet her over in LA.
She was pretty
last
cool.
time we were there. She was very cool. Fuzzy Cube, thanks for coming. Yeah, it's a long time no see, man. You used to come to the channel more. Jonah Keck, thanks for coming too.
Walk in harmony, my student.
Hey, it's the start of the year. It's perfect time to start catching up again. We got some good episodes on deck for you.
Bye, guys.
Bye, everybody.